You are listening to Processing Trauma Out Loud, conversations about trauma and healing from two women who are doing the work.
Hey everyone, this is Candace and Cher, and we are back with our friend Lisa Schultz from the Chicago area. Lisa is a therapist, and go back and listen to this the previous episode where we did our first interview with her, and she let you know how you could contact her. Lisa, we're just going to jump back in. Last episode, we talked about anxious and avoidant attachment, a little bit of your experience, how it feels in your body, how that shows up for you. And what we want to look at today is, what does it mean to be able to connect with yourself? And specifically in the context of being able to facilitate and create healthy relationships with other people. So, yeah, that's where we're going to go today. And I'm anxious to hear, anxious to hear what you're going to say about that, because I think this is actually going to be really helpful.
Yeah. So I think, Cher, you mentioned asking about like some tools to kind of stay with yourself, because ultimately, like as adult attachment, or as a healing, a earned secure attachment, we have to learn how to attach to ourselves. When we were babies, we absolutely needed our parents, and we still need others as well. And it's hard to attach to others when there is not a fully developed self. And so part of developing our self, our inner man, to be able to connect and attach to others, there's kind of steps or movement towards, like, so for me to be able to, I know we talked last time about bringing up what I needed on a trip, and I couldn't know what I needed unless I knew how I was feeling. And so going back to the basics of what am I feeling? What am I feeling in my body? What is the sensation that's happening? And then, of course, what is the barrage of judgment will take you away from feeling, drawing conclusions, contempt, going to contempt, blaming. Those all keep you from really being curious and attuned to what you are experiencing in your body. Oh, this feels like I'm getting lost. This feels like I'm invisible in this conversation. And so then to be able to, and to some degree that, lonely. So lonely would be the feeling, the invisible would start to be part of a narrative, an old narrative or a story. So to be able to say, okay, I'm feeling lonely, or missed in this planning or in this conversation. What do I need? And then to move towards, what do I need? Being curious about that. I mean, there's so many points at which we need to be curious and kind with ourselves. Initially, when that comes up, like that loneliness and that being missed or left out, or to be able to question, like, what am I feeling? Then, okay, well, what do I need for that? Okay, so ultimately, I need to use my voice to participate, right? And to be seen, And then to name, oh, I need to carve out some space for myself, some time for myself, physical space, or which was connected, right? We uncovered this, which was connected to agency and honor and what were the other ones? Just being able to make space for myself to be able to stay with myself. The question I often tell people too is like, how can you stay with yourself? Because it's such a particular question. How do you stay with yourself in this situation might be different than how you stay with yourself in another situation. Some situations, staying with yourself means I'm going to go and take a walk and either come back, or I'm going to remove myself from the situation until it is healthy. And then sometimes staying with yourself means staying, right? And having the hard conversations or leaning into a conversation or a conflict. So those are some processes or thoughts or ideas around what I kind of do with trying to stay connected with my inner being.
Yeah. What was coming up for me just listening to you go through this process of, figuring out what I feel, that can take, especially, this sounds really complicated and a lot of work, but here's what I want to say. Okay. If you did not have good eyes and good ears and good attunement and good care consistently throughout your childhood, this is why we have to do this in the way that we do. And it's not that even people that have secure attachments don't go through some level of even needing to learn how to do this in adulthood. Nobody shows up doing it perfectly. But I'm just listening. I'm like, what my hope would be, Sharon, Lisa, is that as a society, as a world, yes, having self-compassion for sure, Lisa, because that we do not heal outside of the arena of compassion. But what would it be like to just create this society? Like, it's the opposite of stigma. It's the opposite of judgment, to where when we see someone struggling, that we don't go to assumptions. We don't go to judgment. We don't go to blame. We're like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also, I love that, Candace. And I think also not only when we're looking at the other person, but when we're looking at our own, because when we're in the context of a relationship where we get triggered or we get dysregulated to some degree on that spectrum. So we either find ourselves going anxious or we find ourselves going avoidant. And some of the things, as you mentioned, some of the feelings that come up that we might notice if we're learning to stay with ourselves, we might notice, oh, that person makes me so furious, or why can't they hear me? Or so we might go to judgment, or we might go to contempt, or we might go to that feeling of, nobody gets me. Like I am alone again, that loneliness. And often when we go toward wherever we find ourselves on that emotional scale can bring feelings of shame. What's wrong with me that I am doing or feeling, that I am feeling what I'm feeling? And then in that moment, so this is where I'm going. In that moment, we can't really get further if we can't turn toward curiosity and compassion.
Right.
Sometimes we need help. We need somebody else to come and help us do that. And at least I did. Before I could find it for myself, I had to experience someone else offering me it. And that is what then started helping me be able to connect more and more with myself, was when I actually had, as an adult, had it modeled to me from someone else, where literally, and this is what, I experienced in our short story group, and what I have experienced over and over, is when somebody looks at me as though I actually am the young girl that I feel like. And we will say things to each other like, oh, baby girl, I see you there. Like, how many times have we said that in a Pearls meeting? Like, and then for me, it stops me, and it's like, oh, yeah. And I start to be able to receive the compassion from somebody else, and then a question maybe of curiosity, like, what's coming up for you? I see that look on your face, or I hear that, whatever. And staying with ourselves, or learning to be with ourselves, is when we can start to offer that to our own self when we find ourselves getting triggered or dysregulated.
Yeah.
Oop.
Oh, go ahead. I have a question.
That's why I think groups are so amazing, because even if you didn't bring a story, to witness the interaction of a caring, attuned individual, those of us who have not experienced that, to be able to, sometimes we don't know what we need until we get something and we're like, I don't need that, or I do. Oh, okay. That is, we don't know what we're missing until we see it and, or feel it or experience it. So even in like a movie or a book, what brings that emotion forward? And so to be able to witness that in a group and say, oh, okay, that it changes the posture of relating to yourself.
And it opens the scope of what is possible even for us as adult women, because the truth is, for so much of my life, I felt like a 5-year-old girl in relationships. I felt like, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm showing up, I'm acting, I feel like, but all of a sudden, as in the context of my stories, I'm having somebody speak to that little girl that I know her well. She shows up a lot, and I don't really like her very much either. But as now I do, I love her. But at first, and as I experienced the love of another woman speaking to that girl in me, in my 60-year-old woman self, changed my life. Changed my life.
Yeah. It's changing all of our lives. And Lisa, this is going back to, it's the same what we're talking about here, but I was curious, like, ways that you stay with yourself. I said something to someone the other day. I'm really just wanting to know your thought on this. I said, are you saying yes when you mean no? And are you saying yes because you fear the disconnection? And so do you see that a lot? Have you experienced it? Like, I'm saying yes to these things, and internally it's out of a place of anxiety, and feel like if I really showed up and shared what I need and what I want, I could lose this connection.
Yeah, it's harder and harder for me to do that. It was like going back to attachment, going back to childhood. The choice of attachment is connected to authenticity versus attachment. If I'm my authentic self, will this relationship still be here? And so when you do that, where you pick attachment over authenticity, you get to this place where there's this level of incongruence of, do I even know myself?
Mm-hmm.
So, and there was a point in my life, becoming a mother and, realizing, oh, I have 2 baby girls. I have to, teach how to help them develop and teach them what femininity is and what it looks like to become. And I realized, I think that there was such a level of incongruency for me. So really starting that journey to realign, like having your yes be yes and your no be no. Like, it's connected to values. It's connected to boundaries. It's connected to, what am I feeling? So what is truly, because it's a risk, like every time. And yet, like, the risk is losing the other or losing the self.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that place, of shame where we're hiding, pretending, and performing. And I'm loving that you brought up the attachment versus authenticity. And I know getting out of that, where you begin to say, I'm going to slow down. I'm not just going to go with the flow. I'm going to slow down and say, am I showing up, using my voice, understanding I have choice, understanding I have hope, even. Trauma, the nature of trauma wants to take our voice, our choice, our hope. And so part of this healing attachment wound is there's a hope element to it.
Yes.
And
yes. And I get tripped up a little bit when we just say authenticity and attachment, because it's not actually true attachment, right? Okay. So when you have to be somebody you're not to stay attached, it's not really true attachment. So part of the journey towards healing is connecting to that authentic part of ourselves, to be able to name what we need in relationship, to stay with an authentic attachment, right?
And that authentic part of us might be the anger. It might be angry. We might be angry. We might be sad. We might be, right? It's not the perfect self. It's
we might need repair, and I think that, we haven't really got into that much, but the ability to say I need repair, and to have someone meet you there, now that grows that secure attachment, with the other. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's an aspect of repairing with ourselves. Mm-hmm. I know for me, when I started this journey, I had a lot of repair that I wanted to do, with myself. Mm-hmm. And there's it's called the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. That's just a short little prayer of self-forgiveness. And now that I'm saying it, I'm not going to remember each of the lines, but I still use that. And I'll sometimes send it to my clients who are struggling with wanting to repair with themselves, mm-hmm. because we betray ourselves when we choose, like you said, Lisa, not so much a healthy connection over the authenticity of who we are and how we're showing up.
Mm. Yeah.
That self-betrayal is painful. It at some point you have to, like, I'm continuing to betray myself in order to stay connected, and it's just not worth it.
And how good it is, and what a gift it is to have relationships where we have a growing level of security where we really can be our authentic self, even if it feels like, okay, here's my FU part, right? Candace will say that, like, here's my FU part, or here's my little girl showing up, like, but to be able to expose that in a sense, like to let it come out and let it come forward, knowing that the other person cares, like, it's just one of the best gifts that we can experience as humans, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So good to be with you both. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and being with us for these episodes and sharing parts of your story with us. And we invite our listeners to get in touch with you. Can you meet with people outside of Illinois also, or are you only within?
I am coaching. I do some story coaching.
Okay. So story coaching anywhere in the world. Yes. And give the name of your website one more time.
lifebreathcounseling.com.
Yep. lifebreathcounseling.com. So thank you so much, Lisa.
Love you.
Love you too.
Love you. Bye-bye.